Now I'm going to go through some campaigns. They're not all the current ones, because I've been looking at the 2014 awards recently, but I've also been looking back at the awards since 1996. Anyone working in our business should have a working familiarity with the most important ones of those. And if I were arguing the case really fully, I'd say with all of them. You should be able to refer to those case histories. You should know why they worked and why they didn't, and you should be able to quote those case histories and put them in your presentations to your boards or your senior managers if you're arguing the case for investment. There's no point in you going up as the marketing department and saying, I want more money. They say, well, yeah, tell me something new. But if you go up with a properly argued presentation showing how an investment in the past in Ireland for a wide variety of brands has produced a huge effect, then your presentation is going to be much more effective. Bulmers is a campaign that I'd always start with that, because I think it's been one of the most effective campaigns, and it was created by advertising. In the late 1980s, the image of Bulmers was appalling. It was characterized by, and everybody knew this at the time, teenagers, bold teenagers drinking in a field, underage teenagers. That's what it was associated with. And they looked at the research and they said, we're going to have to do something with this. And they took a decision which in retrospect seems obvious. All great decisions are obvious in retrospect. It wasn't at the time. They said, we're going to forget about the brand. We're going to concentrate on the category, because the research showed that although the brand had a very poor image, the category after all was apples, and an apple a day and all that kind of stuff. So they concentrated on the category, not the brand. Now that's as revolutionary as if Guinness decided to concentrate on the benefits of stout as opposed to Guinness. And that's what they had to do to get out of the problem. They created a world with their advertising, and the best marketing communications creates its own world. They create a world of autumn, of warm autumnal colours, of rural bucolic kind of scenes, all centred on an orchard. And they made beautifully produced commercials over a 10-year period, inventing that world, reassuring people about the values of that world, and the values of that world transferred onto the brand. It was very professional. I don't think it won any advertising awards during that time, but it was hugely professional. The production values were fantastic, and it brought the brand from under 2% of the total beer market to over 10%. Now the beer market in Ireland is huge. Highly profitable. Why they decided to take the account away from the Irish agency who produced those brilliant ads, I do not know. Is there anybody here from the company? I'd say get out of the room immediately. But anyway, it's a sensational campaign, and one of the best examples of advertising in this country. MiWadi is another one that I like for quite a different reason. But a reason that I'm quite fond of. But MiWadi was the third brand in the Irish market in that particular category. Two multinational brands, Keora and Robinsons, were the brand leaders. And they did their research, and usually if there is a formula, and there really isn't any formula in this area, but they did research and they found out, okay, who do they have to appeal to? What's the market? And there were two target groups, kids and mothers, because it's younger kids who tend to drink that, and therefore mothers have a much bigger influence than they would, let's say, on carbonated soft drinks. So they had to do something which appealed to both mothers and kids, which is difficult. But the solution and the critical element in that campaign, as far as I'm concerned, didn't actually come out in the case history the way it's written. So the case history is very spectacular. It got to be brand leader after this campaign. The critical element was a copy line, which summed up the world of adult and mother, the mother and child they created. It's not your waddy, it's my waddy. It immediately appealed to kids' sense of play with this is mine, not yours, mummy. The mummies could kind of enter into the spirit of the little cheekiness of the line. The line is brilliant. And I don't think people in this business fully appreciate the power of words and the asset that line represents to that brand. In the same way, because I was involved in this one, how many millions of euros has one simple line meant for Glanbia? Do their shareholders realize that we sweated for hours over the fillet of cheddar, gave it to them for a couple of thousand, and they have made countless millions. It is the main factor in the success of that brand. I mean, they're hardly advertising now, but that line, the fillet of cheddar. So a really good copy line can be hugely important. If I was a client, and I know people get obsessed by insights, I'm getting bored with insights. I'd be pushing the agency for better copy than I would be pushing the planners for better insights. Because I think at the end of the day, the payoff would be bigger. Husqvarna, I mean, tiny little budget. They were in the middle of the recession, 2010, the sales were going down, and they had a budget of about 50 or 60,000, and they got extra sales of 1.5 million, just by being there. And now this is the kind of Jeremy Bulmers point that I want to make. Sometimes you don't need an insight, you don't need a great kind of creative campaign, just the fact of being on television, or of advertising, is enough to transform your fortunes, because they hadn't done it before in the Irish market. So sometimes just being there can be a huge factor in success. That doesn't say you shouldn't try to have the best creative work and the best insights and all the rest of it. But remember, just advertising by itself will make you more famous by definition than if you weren't advertising.